Hi there, Jonny here from JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk and welcome to Fender Studio Pro 8. So welcome everybody to Fender Studio Pro, as I said in the intro there. As you can see, it looks exactly like Studio One. It just has Fender branding and the name has changed just a little bit to Studio Pro instead of Studio One Pro. Now, at the start of this video, I want to basically make clear what is going on here. So, Fender Studio Pro is basically Studio One. It is written on the same code base, the same Studio One code base that Studio One has been written on for 16 years. And it is essentially exactly the same program, and it is developed by the exact same team in Hamburg as has always been. So essentially this is just a rebranded Studio One. It's the same program, does exactly the same things. All the features that you love and enjoy and expect in Studio One are right here in Studio Pro. The difference is there's a whole bunch of new features that I am going to cover at least a few of in this video. So I'm going to cover basically my favorite 6 out of the very, very many new things that are added to Fender Studio Pro, formerly known as Studio One. So as you can see, the GUI of the start page is probably the best place to start, because it has been improved, and there's obviously the rebranding at the top here, but it has been improved quite a bit. It's got this maybe slightly sleeker, darker kind of look to it. And you'll notice, especially for you folks that are on PCs, you'll notice that finally, this was actually quite a big thing for me, even though it's really just a very, very small thing. And that is the menu bar now shares exactly the same color. Before, this was white. If you remember from earlier versions of Studio One, including version 7, this was basically white. And now finally it is exactly the same color as the top and the bottom bit here as well. So that is a welcome change. You'll also notice that this section here with the transfers, the start page button itself, and the documents button is all nicely indented, as is the avatar. And what you'll find as we go through this video and the other videos that will come in this series is that you will find that this is a bit of a recurring theme. Indentation and a sleeker, more organized, clearer, less cluttered look to Studio One. So let's go take a little look at what we have. So in this song here, the first thing that you are probably going to notice, and there are many things that you are going to notice here. The first thing you'll notice is the bar at the bottom here is very, very different. Again, we have indentations going on here, and this little transport window here is much smaller than it was on previous versions, including Studio One 7. And you'll notice that this key and transpose and tempo section is all nice and neatly gathered together in this little indentation thing here. And you'll notice again here, this little volume section and stereo section here, this is all indented. That's the word I was trying to say. And you'll find that all the transport things for punch in, punch out, and sync to external devices, all of that is now here in one single place, as is performance issues and MIDI and all of that. Those are all in one place as well. The next thing you'll notice is that the eye icon for the inspector has moved from the top here down to the bottom here in the bottom left corner. See, as I hover over the eye, it says inspector, and that opens the inspector as you'd expect. It's very, very cool. I like this very much. And the dividers are much more easy to get to, much more organized. And you can show pretty much exactly what you want to see. So I can pull that out of the way. I can stretch that. I can do whatever I want to do with that. And the same with this section here. I can hide that section. I can pull that all the way up to the top if I don't want to see anything from above there. So it's all pretty cool the way the inspector has been improved. Much, much better. You'll also notice that the fader caps are also redesigned and they look much more modern. They look a little less plasticky, which is also a very nice little look. You'll also notice that the channel strips themselves, they continue to have this nice rounded edge, and the dividers between each channel is, again, a little bit more clearer, just like we did with version 7. I'm going to close that window because I don't need it. But you'll also notice this was a big one in many ways. It is now much easier to move the sends section, because if I hover the mouse over here, it turns into this little up-down arrow, and I can move it much more smoothly to wherever I want it. Or I can keep it nice and level with the post section of the main out fader. So we'll come across over here to buses and and my effects channels. Again, I like to have these organized to the right. Your preferences will vary. And again, everything is nice and indented, however you want to say it. I don't really care at this point. And of course, the bar at the top here for all of your macros is still in the same place. And this has been nicely overhauled as well for your control linking. And then all of these buttons up here have been organized into groups as well. So it all looks nice and sleek. And I really like this new look. Now, I'm using a custom color scheme, which I had in version 7 of Studio One. And so this is exactly the same. So this basically just got brought over from Studio One 7. But you can have the light view if you prefer the light view. I prefer my own little view. And you'll notice that there is an extra button down here, and the edit button is now a pencil. So no more words. Everything is iconography, which is something that I really like, so that we're not just bombarded with letters, words, text, that kind of thing. So I think this is a nice improvement. And you'll see this extra button here called the channel overview. We will come onto that in just a while, so stick around and I'll show you what this does. This is a great little feature that has been brought over from Fender Studio. So if you are a Fender Studio user, you'll know what that is. If you're a Fender Studio user, if I just click this button here, you'll know what this is as well. Again, I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit later in this video, so stick around for that, especially if you're not a Fender Studio user and you're wondering what the heck that is. I'll explain all in just a wee moment, so hang in there. So one thing we will also take a look at is the plugins and instruments. They have all been overhauled and had a fresh look. So we will open up another song to show you this. This song is going to become apparent as to what this is for in just a little while, but take a look at the instruments here. Notice that some of these are now Fender branded instruments, and some of them, like Cinematic Lights and all of these ones, Deep Flight 1, Lead Architect, and Sub-Zero Bass, these remain PreSonus branded. So PreSonus has not gone away completely. Some stuff remains PreSonus. Some stuff has been rebranded to Fender and has had a GUI overhaul. So let's take a look at presents very quickly. Take a look at this. Has a nice, sleek, modern design. And this is all nice and green around these buttons, which I really like. And this has had a nice little overhaul as well in this little display here. and then this nice graphic here for presence. I really like this. Impact has also had an overhaul. I'm just going to go and grab one of my favorite kits, actually, which is the Tom Brecklin drums preset. And you'll see all the pads are nicely rounded and they're all color-coded and everything. There are more features in Impact and in Sample 1 that I will show in a separate video, because there has been a lot added to this that has been the subject of a lot of feature requests. Things like slicing and fading and cross-fading and things like that are now available in Sample 1 and also available in Impact. So I will show you those in a separate video, so please do be subscribed to my channel and click that notification bell, select all notifications, and then that way you're not going to miss any of that stuff in that video when it comes up. All right, so that's the instruments. I've shown a couple of those. I'm going to go back to the effects, and I'm going to scroll down here to what used to be the Presonus plugins. These are now all branded to Fender. And again, these have all had an overhaul. You'll notice that Pipeline has been renamed to External Effect, which I think is much better because it's more explanatory, more self-explanatory, in fact, because now it's easier to understand what this is rather than Pipeline. Pipeline's great for kind of like naming a plugin. It sounds cool, sounds sophisticated, sounds good, right? But external effect, mono, external effect, stereo, I think this describes what this does a lot better. And especially for people that are new to Studio Pro, this is going to be easier for them to understand what this does. This enables you to bring audio in via an external hardware device, such as let's say a Warm Audio 1176 compressor, for example. You can send the audio out and then you can bring that audio through that compressor and back into Studio Pro using this guy, one of these two. So let's go take a look at some of these as well. So let's have a look at analog delay. Let's whack that on somewhere. Let's put it on this one. Again, it's been redesigned, keeping that nice little rainbow kind of vibe for the analog delay, keeping its kind of retro look. And we've got a nice little Fender badge on there as well. Kind of looks like an amp, kind of like that look. So that is that one. What else will we look at? We'll look at the chorus as well. I'm going to put that up here. And that looks pretty good as well. With a nice little design here showing kind of what this does, really. Again, we've got this nice little amp embed look and the Fender badge, which is great. So let's get on to the compressor. Compressor is great. This will just add another channel. It's fine. Again, Fender branded, and all the buttons and knobs have got nice little blue highlights, which I really like. And the routing is much easier to, the automation mode, I should say. The automation mode is now much easier to get to. And the routing is exactly where you'd expect it. And then you've got the channel overview at the top there. So this is just had a nice redesign. I like the look of this. Let's see what else we go for. We will go for Pro EQ. Pro EQ. Looks very nice. Again, it's very familiar to what you'd expect if you are coming over from Studio One. It has everything that you would expect it to have. You know, it has the low cut high pass filter and all of that. It's got the Fender little badge there. But it does pretty much exactly what it always has done. It's just had a nice little redesign. And then I'm going to come on to this one as well. I'm going to put this one on here. So this is the bass amp, of which there are very, very many presets. There are lots of these. And so this is basically modeled after the Fender Rumble amp. And I have one of these. I have the Rumble 250. And it's great. And some of these presets, in fact, most of these presets sound very, very familiar to me. So this, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here on what this is, but you get lots of presets for different amps and things like that. So if I click on here, there's all of these here. So there's the 4x12, there's a fat bass man, there's the basic studio bass amp, there's the redhead. Let's go down a wee bit and we'll go bass tremolo, why not? And bass baritone, the 810, monster. So these are all different heads that you can get for your bass amp. And some of them have got nice little icons, and then you've got a stomp box that you can put in after it, or you can just remove the stomp box if you don't want it. So that's the rumble. The next one I'm going to come on to after I skip a few. I'll do a voice effects again in a separate video. Is where is it? Have I gone past it already? Here we go, Mustang Native. Let's put this one in this channel here. And again, we've got loads of presets. There's a nice little factory thing here, and there's a whole bunch of different amps, and you've got compressor stomp boxes. You can add things into the chain, and there's a tuner built in, and this sounds exactly like the Mustang. And there is, of course, the Mustang Micro hardware device as well, which is pretty awesome. And some of these presets come from that. So it's pretty cool, pretty great. So that's some of the plugins and some of the instruments and the overhaul that has been done. I think you guys are going to love this redesign of the user interface and the plugins and the instruments. So let's move on to the next big thing, which I think you guys are going to love. All right, so we're going to take a look at one of the new plugins. So I've already taken a look at the Mustang and the Rumble. There is another one that we're going to take a look at right now, which I think is one of the big sellers for Studio Pro 8. So let's go over to the Effects tab, and let's go down through the Fender plugins until we come to this guy here. It's called Studio Verb. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. It is already instantiated. And it looks like this. It looks very familiar if you have ever used one of the Lexicon 480s. The hardware, those little hardware devices for controlling digital reverbs that were very, very popular in lots of studios. Still is an incredibly popular reverb unit. Well, this is kind of designed a little bit to look a little bit like it. And you've got these nice fader controllers, as well as these dial controllers as well. And you've got a whole slew of incredible, wonderfully well-designed presets that are categorized into all of these different categories. I'm not going to select a different category just now, or a different preset, because I've got this one specifically loaded because it just sounds absolutely epic. It's the only way I could describe this. Now, these presets were designed by one of our core developer guys who is also on the QA team, guy called Ari Arendt, who has also made presets for some of the instruments as well, some of the synth presets. And he's made a few other standalone products as well over the years. But this is fantastic. So I've got this little piece of solo Fender Rhodes on this track here, and I'm using particularly this thing called Water Verb. And it just sounds absolutely epic when you dial this up quite a bit. Now, if you were using this particular preset in the context of a mix, you would never have this dialed up this high. But I want you to get an idea of just how glorious this thing sounds. So I'll play this. Check out that tail at the end. It's absolutely glorious. So this thing is absolutely fabulous. It's getting its own segment in this video because it is that good. So this is an awesome addition to Studio Pro 8. There's lots of other things, like a lot of the other plugins here have been also updated. You can go and check those out for yourself. I think you'll enjoy some of the new looks and some of the new features in things like the tuner. So there's lots of things for you to check out in the plugin suite. Red Light Distortion. Let's keep it clean here. Has also had a bit of a refresh. I think you'll like that too. So yeah, check these all out and see what you make of them. I think you're going to love all of these plugins, especially this guy, the Studio Verb. I think you will find lots and lots and lots of different uses for this particular plugin, including reverbs for different spaces, real rooms, plates, concert hall, cathedral, as well as these weird sounding creative spaces where Ari has just totally gone to town and uses imagination on these. But you've also got some different instrument ones and some different plates, especially plate 140s, which are also really, really great for vocals. And then some real rooms. There's even a jazz club, which appeals to my heart because I'm a jazz guy. And then there's some special spaces here as well, including this one, which I think is hilarious, calling it Flat Earth. That's very funny. Ari has a unique sense of humor, and we love him for it. So there you go. That's the Studio Verb. It's absolutely frickin' awesome. Check it out. So the next couple of things we're going to look at here, one is this little button here, which you may well have noticed and gone, what the heck is that? Okay, so if I hover over this, it says unfreeze to real-time audio. That's because I have frozen this track because there is an expander on here. But if I click on that little button and turn it off, and then we open the mixer, the expander reappears. And then if I want to freeze it again, I can just click this little star button. And this dialog appears. Now, this used to be called transform to rendered audio. It is now freeze to real-time audio. So I think the word freeze makes much more sense than transform. So I think this is definitely a good little improvement, but everything else is as before. And then we just hit OK. Boom, done. And then if I want to unfreeze it, I can just click on the unfreeze button. But I'm going to keep it frozen for now because I think that's a pretty cool feature. So what I have here is I have a piece of audio that is just me singing into the microphone, and I used the expander basically to get rid of some background noise that I had because my family were kind of around and about in the background when I when I recorded it. So that's why I did that, and then I froze it basically just to show you how easy it is to freeze something. So the freezing thing is very, very cool. It's very, very easy to do. It's just one button and you can freeze and unfreeze as you need to. All right, so that's the whole freezing thing out the way. So let's get on to the main thing that I wanted to show here, which is the easy way that you can now convert audio to MIDI. It's very, very cool. Now, I made a video a long time ago where you had to use Melodyne to get access to the note data. You no longer have to do that. This is extremely cool. This is a fantastic feature. And I think this is equally as impressive as the Studio Verb that I showed you earlier. So let's go grab this guy, and I'm going to drag and drop it directly onto this instrument track. I've got a flugelhorn on here. So I'm just going to drag and drop this straight on here, and let's see what it does. You'll notice now we get this little convert dialog, and we get extract notes or extract drums. This is really, really cool. So if this had been a drum track, we could extract the drums, or if this was a snare drum track and we wanted to replace the snare drum track with a virtual snare drum, for example, so just doing this just with the snare drum would be very cool. We would hit this guy and then it would open up a drum instrument, or you could just drag this onto your drum instrument of choice and then select extract drums, and it'll extract it to that particular instrument of choice that you've got there. And that might be Stephen Slate drums or something else entirely. I'm not going to show that here. I'm going to show the extract notes. So let's click on that guy and we'll see it do its thing here. And there we have it. Let's play these two together. Now, the first thing I noticed is there's a little bit of a mistake there. It didn't get them all right. Let's go over to here. And I can see that this note here was not what I actually sung. It might have picked up that there was a little inflection in my voice. So let's move that down. Let's get rid of that guy. And let's extend that one a little bit. So. There we go. So it picked up another inflection that I did there. So I definitely went up a little bit in pitch at the end. And so it even picked that little inflection up, which I think is great that it picked that one up. I would keep that one, but I would certainly change this one because it's not correct. It should be a B flat and not a B. But otherwise, it got it pretty much exactly right. So this is basically very, very sophisticated software that is running in the background when you drag and drop audio from an audio track onto an instrument track. And it basically detects all the note data from the audio. It does basically what Melodyne does in the background. It's just you never see the Melodyne editor, and you never have to then, extract the note data to the instrument track. That basically gets done for you. So this is an extremely cool addition. I like this a lot. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at some changes and additions to the metronome. I've enabled the metronome here. I think you are going to like this a lot, especially you singer-songwriters. You're going to love this because what I'm about to show you gives you an alternative to just listening to a click track. Yes, you can have a click track if you wish, but you can now have something far more sophisticated than just a click track. It's awesome. So let's right click on this guy and we're going to open the metronome setup. Now take a look at this. So this is what you're used to, the metronome active, click and play, and pre-count. And then all of this stuff here is kind of as before. What's not as before is this guy here, the drum metronome. Now, this is great. So let's first of all turn that off and we'll turn this on. Hang on, why is that not happening? I need to turn that one on as well. Okay, so what you'll see here is you have a little volume slider and you also have this guy here. So I'm going to mute these two tracks because I don't want to listen to those as well. I just want to listen to this. So this is a bunch of different presets and the time signatures in which they operate. So there's a whole bunch of different presets here. There's rock. So let's do straight rock. And we'll okay that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this with those two tracks muted. And you'll hear this guy running. Now, I can also change this to double time or half time. So let's say we want a halftime feel for this song. And yes, these are real drum recordings. Okay, this is not just stuff that's been brought in from some third-party plugin. These are actual real drum recordings. So there's different styles here. There's this one. And let's try something else. All right, so there's loads of rock ones there. There's blues, so there's shuffles. So this one's really great if you want to do like a halftime shuffle. Maybe you want to do a cover of Steely Dan's Babylon Sisters. This is going to help you basically lay down your guide tracks for that. So that would work for that. And then there's different ones here. And that's nice if you want to do like a 12/8 kind of blues ballad kind of thing. And then there's jazz. And you've also got some odd times here as well. So you've got 5/4, you've got 7/4, you've got jazz waltz. So if you set the the timing to something that fits these, then it will work beautifully. However, this will play even if we're in 4/4. All right, so there's some odd ones here. Let's try the jazz waltz. And then you got some wild ones like a bossa nova. Bit of mambo. And then if you're into your Jamaican music, bit of soca. So yeah, drum metronome. Let's start again. Drum metronome is really, really great. I think this is going to be fantastic for anybody that wants to have something other than just a click. So I'm going to put this back roughly to where it was. I don't even remember what it was set at. So we'll just hit OK. And we'll leave that at that. Now, the other thing I should say about the metronome is that if our timing was set to something like 12/8, let's type in 12 here. No, not 112. 12, and set this one to 8. Now, you will see that it says beat duration, quarter note with this dot after it. What does that mean? Let's turn off the drum metronome. So we just got just a regular click. That's what that does. So what that does is that now turns it into a little dotted quarter note, which if you're in 12/8, like we did with that blues ballad thing, let me just increase this just a smidge. That gives us something that we can work with for doing a 12/8 kind of blues, 1950s blues ballad. This would work perfectly for that. You could not do this in earlier versions of Studio One. So this is a very, very nice addition. So if you're in 12/8 or 6/8 and you've got that dotted kind of pulse, dotted quarter note pulse, whether you're in 6/8 or 12/8, then you can just click on this dot. Now, if you are doing something that is not with the dotted pulse, like a jig or a reel or something like that, where it is literally 6/8 notes, then you want to turn this off and set this beat duration to eighth, and then it will click normally with the six individual eighth note clicks. This is very sophisticated, very cool. It's a great addition to Studio One. It makes working in different time signatures a lot easier with a click track. So check this one out. I think you'll find this incredibly useful, especially for you folks that are singer-songwriters that want like a drum guide instead of a metronome click. Now, the cool thing about the about this guy, the drum metronome, is you can render it as well. So that's something I recommend you try out. Let's go and turn this back to 4/4. So we'll set that back to 4. We'll set this back to 4. And we'll leave that as is. And we'll set that back. And what we'll do is we'll get the drum metronome on. And what we'll do is we'll render it. And we'll go... I don't have a loop range set up. So let's just cancel that for a second. And let me set up a quick loop range. There we go. And we'll just set that to active, and then what we'll do is we'll just render it, and we'll render it within the loop range, render drums as instrument track, and we'll go okay, and there it is. So now I can turn that off and I can play this. So I can render it, and I've got myself basically a basic guide drum part. If I, once I'm happy with the metronome, maybe I just want to use this as a guide drum part. You can. So this is great addition to Studio One, especially for singer-songwriters and, composers and things like that. So check this one out. It's great. Okay, next we are going to look at a couple of features that actually have come over to Studio Pro 8 from Fender Studio. And these are incredibly useful, especially if you have done a song in Fender Studio and you want to send it, transmit it, as or export it basically into Fender Studio Pro. You can do that. That is going to work with Fender Studio 1.2 and with Studio Pro 8 as well. So you can basically transmit it from your iPad or your phone, or even from the same version of Fender Studio on your PC. I'm not going to demonstrate that here today, but that is definitely something that you can actually do, provided your device and your PC are on the same network. I could do it from my Mac as well, actually. I could just transmit from my Mac to the PC, and the song would then go straight over. Any plugins that or things that I've used, effects that I've used on the Fender Studio app will come across into Fender Studio Pro 8 as well. So that is a neat little thing, and in order for it to be like a like-for-like comparison between the two pieces of software, because they are also both written on the Studio One codebase, these two features have been brought over. So the first one is the channel overview. And this is one of those features I think you'll either really like, or you just won't use very much. Especially if you've been around Studio One for a very long time, you might just not use it very much, or you might actually just decide, hey, this is great. For me, I'm not really sure whether I will use it very much, but I think it's great that we have it. So how do we use it? So we've got these buttons down at the bottom. We've got the editor button. We've got the mixer button, and we've got the browser button, but we've also got this little guy here in between them, which is called channel overview. So select a channel. I've selected this solo guitar channel, click on this guy, and this opens this. Now you'll notice that the song has actually appeared and most of the mixer has gone away, or is kind of tucked. It's actually tucked underneath this view here. But what you'll see is we have all the inserts that are on this channel in mini views. Okay, so for the native plugin suite, both Fender and PreSonus, there are these specially designed mini micro views. Third-party plugins won't have this. They will appear very different, and how different will depend upon what third-party plugin you're using. So in this case, this song is using native plugins, so we've got Ampire, and basically it distills it down to bare bones basic controls. So there's no GUI specifically, with the exception of the Pro EQ. You can see this here, but everything else is just distilled down to dials, knobs, basically. And in Ampire here, I can change the amp and cabinet, and I can click this button to open the stomps. And then there's the beat delay here, the Pro EQ, and the reverb, and it's basically got controls that basically manage everything that's actually in the main plugin GUI. So anything I do here will happen in the main plugin GUI when I go back to the regular channel view that everybody is familiar with. So anything that's done here will happen. Let's say, for example, I change something in Ampire here, like maybe I change the amount of input or the output, or I change the amp, for example. What I do here will happen in the main Ampire GUI. Okay, so they are basically the same thing, essentially. But this is actually quite a handy little view. You can adjust things with this open. The cool thing is you can also detach this. So if you have multiple screens, when you open the channel view, you could basically detach this and have this up on a separate screen, and have the main mixer view and the main arranger view on a totally separate screen. And you any channel that you select from here, this will change. So if I click on another track here, I'm trying to find tracks that have actually got things on them. As I'm selecting these, you'll see that there's different things on here. Like this one is the bass, and it's got the third-party Brainworks Rack Rock V3 player, which is turned off at the moment. But as you can see, there's nothing to it really. It's a third-party plugin. But I've got the Rumble Native here and the Pro EQ as well. So let's go back to this guitar track here, and you can see that there's just plenty to look at. Plus, you've also got these controls over here. Nice big pan control. Your fader and your routing is displayed here as well, and any track notes that you might have. So if you had written in the track notes, which are not enabled at the moment, but if you'd written in the track notes certain microphones for this guitar amp, then you would put that information in there and it would appear in here. So that is the channel overview. Now that I've closed that, I could just reopen the mixer, but instead I'm going to show you the arranger overview, which again comes over from Fender Studio. This, I think, is actually really, really cool. So if I just hover just at the top here, you'll see that I get the up-down arrows again. So if I drag this down, this enlarges this overview section, and you can see kind of these, all these little strips. Well, all these little strips correspond to all of these events that are in here. You can see they kind of line up reasonably well. And so what I can do is I can zoom in to a specific section, and let's say I want to just shift along just a little bit. I can grab this little magnifier here in this arranger overview, and I can just drag this along. So if I want to find like a specific lyric, let's find a specific lyric. like I stand and shout, no holding back. And let's say I decide that actually these lyric blocks are a little, this one's a little early, this one's a little late. I can move those, and then I can go and find other things that maybe need a little bit of attention. Like these are all kind of a little bit garbled together. But if I zoom in even closer, we'll see that they're not. It's just when I zoom, everything gets all a little bit kind of garbled together. It's kind of, you know, to be expected. But notice how when I zoom in even more, this little magnifier gets tighter and tighter. And then when I zoom out, the magnifier gets huge until I can click on zoom to loop, and which is how I prefer to view things. And then everything just kind of lines up. So I can reduce this if I want to reduce the view, or I can just turn it off if I'm not interested in that at all. I can just turn it off. And now we're basically in default Studio One arranger view mode, basically. I actually quite like this as a feature, and I have been using Fender Studio quite a lot. So I actually think that this is a really great thing to have. I don't know. I maybe didn't think it would be a great idea, but actually, the more I use it, the more I think this is actually a good thing. So I think that you guys will find this useful. It might be a little bit divisive, as I've said. By all means, leave your comments below. Are you going to use the channel overview? Are you going to use the arranger overview? And if you are, why or why not? If you're not going to use it, you know, I like opinions, so please do make your opinions known regarding this little pair of features that are very nicely related to each other. So I hope you have found this little overview of just a few of my favorite features in Fender Studio Pro. I've not gone through all of them, again, because as I say in every major version overview, to keep the video short, and hopefully I have achieved that. In this video, I have kept it reasonably short. Hopefully this is going to come out to being less than 30 minutes, but we'll see once I've done the final edit and render of this video. But that said, I hope you have enjoyed this. I will be putting together some more videos. There will be some additional videos coming to this playlist, where we will cover some more features that I have not covered in this video. So if you have enjoyed this, please do hit that like button. If you want to see more Fender Studio Pro 8 videos, then please do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell and hit the all notifications option. Final thing to say is I will be doing a couple of live streams as well. So if you have questions that you want to ask about Fender Studio Pro 8, then I would be happy to take those questions on the live streams that I'm going to do. So those will be either my Wednesday show or my Sunday show at 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you'd like to join in those, then please do come along, and you can ask your questions in the chat and I will show you stuff. If you want me to go over things again from this video or from other videos in the series, or there's something else that you would like to see, I'm happy to cover those as well. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.